is that we are going to talk about CRM implementation. So CRM implementation talks about implementing of a successful CRM program. Now, this is a very crucial area that you need to know how to implement a successful CRM project and what are the steps to be taken. Now, customer relationships management, as I told you last week, is a technology driven strategy. It will support strategies and processes that will focus on creating superior value for the customer and creating sustainable profits for the business. So we have learned about this enough during the previous classes. CRM also works on building and nurturing long-term profitable customer relationships. So this is the concept. So we have said, okay, we have talked about lifetime value of the customer. We have talked about the loyalty ladder. Right? Loyalty ladder is an area where they are so interested in giving you questions. So that area we discussed last week. So loyalty ladder and building, nurturing long-term profitable customer relationship. So it's very clear that CRM is a technology driven strategy and it supports you to create superior value for the customers, and it helps you to create sustainable profits for a business, and it also helps you to focus on long-term relationships with the customer in order to generate more profit sustainably over a period of years. Now, when it comes to the customer side, we have certain requirements. First one is that we need to acquire customers, so acquisition. Then we have development, so we develop the relationship with them. And then enhancement, so you broaden the relationship, you enhance the relationship, you make them go from supporter to advocate to partners, and then to retain the customers. Right? So acquire them, develop them as customers, enhance the relationship, and basically make them more profitable by getting more share of wallet, and then retaining them for the lifetime. So how the technology supports you? It helps you to gather data easily. As I told you, the data related to customer should be gathered at touch points, right? So it helps you to gather data from the call center. It helps you to gather data from branches. It helps you to gather data from the feedback in the social media, in the websites. It helps you to gather information related to customer trends. So technology helps you to gather data, information that you require to do what we have discussed on the right side, that is on the customer. Now, data mining is an exercise where you find the data that you require from a database. You have a database and you might say, okay, I want customers who have visited my branch 5 times during last week. So 5 times during a week may be a very frequent customer, right? Very frequent customer. So you will gather the data. So for you to do that out of the database, you have to mine this particular data that you need. That is customers who have gone for come to your branch last week for more than 5 times. So once you gather this data, then your decisions can be taken. You might enhance the relationship by offering them the electronic banking or the e-banking facility, so that if they have been spending money and time, effort to come to your branch without knowing your product, so they will be happy, they'll be delighted that you have offered them something that they can do things from home. And so you can offer them mobile banking or so on and so forth. If not, you might analyze the customer and decide, okay, now he's a frequent customer, there's a chance that I can cross-sell my product, upsell my product, right? Or get more share of wallet. These things, these decisions can be taken after doing the data mining and gathering data based on certain criteria that you require in order to develop your strategies. Then in the technology side, you have databases. Now, earlier data we have to keep in manual form. So you write it in papers, books, and you keep it. And that is a very cumbersome process. One thing is to maintain those. Second thing is that when you want some data to be fetched, it is very difficult for you to go through all the papers manually and find what you want, right? And then basically maintaining it in an orderly manner is also a difficult task, and it takes a lot of time and effort to update your database. Updating is also difficult, but when it comes to technology, the technology has helped you to gather or store your data in a database in a very, sometimes in a very small device, right? In a small device like an external hard disk or in your server, right? And then gather data uh, and then pick data whenever you require by using options like the search option, right? Or giving some commands. So databases has helped you to gather a large amount of data, store it in a small place, right, electronically, and at the same time allowing you to search and gather what you require, the required information, with less effort, less time. Now, data analysis is again another area. Now, data science is a subject that most of the people find it useful to do for the future, because with the data science and data warehousing, data science, and then the analytics, right? So these are areas that most of the people are focusing now with the growth of the digital era and the artificial intelligence. So data analysis is an area where you take the data and analyze the trends, analyze and find root causes. So it helps you to get information that you require to take your decisions. Right? So what happens here is that you use some analytical tools. Very simple analysis can be an analysis that you do with the Excel. And so you gather the data, you draw a chart and see the trend. That is the simplest. So from that level, you can go to very complex levels where you find relationships with certain data and information, so that you can take strategic decisions. Like so, the data analytics. Then the next part that is being spoken right now very much under technology is automation. So it is told that if you want to become competitive in this digital era or next 10 years in the future, you need to bring in automation to the operations of the bank or the financial institution, because of the fact that automation helps you to do the manual work faster and with a lesser cost. So it is fast and is cheap and with less effort, manpower, so that it becomes more productive, and then it becomes more efficient, and at the same time it will reduce the cost of doing your operation. So automation is the key or the driver that helps to organizations to reduce their cost whilst giving a customized experience to the customer in the future. So therefore, the organizations are now looking at automating processes and their operations so that they can focus more on the top line and use human efforts into more complicated areas and complex areas, and especially towards areas where the emotional attachments are required, relationships are required. Right? And automation can go up to the extent of artificial intelligence, where even certain minor decisions or certain routine decisions can be given to a computer, can be given to a robot, so that the humans can work on more complicated and more value adding areas rather than working on routine areas where the computers can give simple decisions. So this is the future. So the technology, as you see on one side, is ultimately helping the business through data gathering, data mining, databases, data analytics, automation, to do what they do more efficiently in order to, now comes the next side, customer side, acquire profitable customers by selecting them, and then develop relationship with the customers by analyzing their requirements and customizing products, and then enhance the relationship by ensuring that they have been offered uh, based on their needs, identifying their needs, the other products that you have through cross-selling, upselling, deep selling, right? And then retain them over a period of life and take the lifetime value by understanding them proactively through the technology and through the insights that you receive from data, and changing yourself to meet the trends and the changing requirements. So it is actually keeping your organization up to date, is actually keeping your organization more efficient in order for you to work with your customers and meet the CRM objectives, that is acquisition, retention, profits, and sustainability. So we would safely say CRM is a technology driven strategy, and the involvement of technology is becoming more and more with the rise of the digital era in the CRM arena. So therefore today, if you are not digital savvy, sometimes you may not be able to do what others do right. Now, even if you go to very simply to do online shopping, when you start online shopping, you find suggestions, right? That is by reading you. So you go and select certain products. The computer at the back end tracks your behavior, tracks your clicks, and then based on the way that you search, they identify that you like these areas, and they give you suggestions. And the person who comes to buy one product may end up buying 2 or 3 products, because the moment he buys a product, he gets some list of suggestions where he finds that he requires another product, so he will buy that as well. So likewise, this technology is tracking you, your behavior, and understanding you individually, and giving you a customized service, whether you like it or not. So it will track you from what you search, what you click, right, what you don't like, where you spend more time, where you have just cut it off, where you have not spent time, and what are the pages that you have gone very frequently. And end of the day, it gives you suggestions, and sometimes you might feel, okay, this whole process is customized for me, right? But that has happened not with manual intervention, because of the technology. And even for the bankers, it is possible. Now the technology is such, when you are talking in the web or when you are talking in the social media that I need a loan, you get certain banks sending you offers related to the loan. Or you may have said to one of your friends that I need a credit card, and sometimes you might get offers about credit cards, and you wonder how they are doing it, because they track, right? So that is possible, that it is possible to listen to the activities in the social media, in the web, that you do, and acquire profitable customers. So therefore, understand the CRM is a technology driven strategy, and the ability to help CRM activities through technology has improved drastically with the digital age. And at the same time, the cost of technology is going down. Cost of technology is going down and the value is coming up. Right? So when it comes to CRM, you will have to talk about customer databases. So first thing is for CRM for you to acquire profitable customers and for you to retain your customers, you need to develop databases. So you gather the data about potential customers, you store those and you work with that in order to acquire profitable clients, potential clients, and at the same time you have to gather data about your existing customers and work with those data to retain your existing customers. So customer database is the fundamental requirement of CRM. Then you can also have CRM software. Right now there are a lot of CRM softwares which will help you to analyze the relationships with your clients, that will help you to get potential clients, profitable clients, analyze the profitability, analyze their behavior, and then based on that develop customized offers. And now at the same time which will collaborate so many things for you to take decisions. So CRM software are readily available, so you have option of buying already established software or else developing your own CRM software with a development company. Third factor under CRM is the relationship history, right? So any activity that you do with regard to the client or to retain the client and to make him satisfied by offering a better value proposition will depend on your understanding about the customer. So it's very important that you have a relationship history being maintained, which can easily be done through with the technology, so that based on the relationship history you will be given suggestions and your decisions can be taken to address each customer, perhaps with customization, and give them a very focused offer. Fourth factor is customer analytics, which helps you to identify the profiles of different customers in your database. So you can identify the frequent users and non-frequent users. People who are high net worth clients with large balances and the others. The people who have a good credit history and people who are having trouble. Early warning signals. Right? Early warning signals about the customer getting into trouble. And through customer analytics, you can also identify profitable clients and unprofitable clients. It can also give you suggestions as to how you can convert an unprofitable client to a profitable client, looking at his patterns and at the same time the needs that you have not served as yet. So customer analytics helps you to analyze the profiles of your customers and take proactive measures in order to retain them and to enhance the relationship with them. Then final and the most important factor is the customized marketing. Actually, with the CRM and the technology, you can move towards customized marketing, whereas the customer feels that the organization is talking to him rather than organization is giving a general message. So like we see right now, the same communication will not go to every customer, but a tailor-made communication will go to the customer addressing his specific requirements and the needs, so that the customer will feel that this has been written to me by understanding me and very personalized. So you will not get the common message. You will get a very personalized message, maybe something that you are searching now. For example, suddenly a bank is sending you a message, marriage loans, and you are wondering how can I get a marriage loan? This message, I'm about to get married. I'm about to get married. Now I'm getting a communication from a bank about a marriage loan. Now this will not go to already married people like us. So technology is capable of tracking it. So technology will track it, and they might go to, for example, he may have posted that I am engaged. Now the system understands, okay, this guy has posted that I am engaged, and now he's about to get married. His status is single, right? Now move to in relationship. Now that means there's a potential that this person to be given a marriage loan. So these type of tracking and intelligence can be built in to your systems with CRM, and then make the person get customized messages rather than general messages that you and I get today. And then the customized products based on his liking, based on his behavior patterns, suggestions that is more customized for him. Now these are possible with the technology in future. Okay. So remember, CRM is a technology driven strategy, and it can certainly help you in the future to make your organization feel more close to the customer and offer more customized solutions. Now we can think of some CRM models. Now CRM models make you focus on customer satisfaction, building customer loyalty. We have discussed those concepts in detail. Enhancing customer experience through customized product services, providing competitive advantage, establishing strong multi-channel communication networks. Now, these are the things that CRM modules will make you focus on. Now, we can identify some very popular CRM models like IDIC model, QCI model, and value chain. IDIC model was developed by Pepper and Rogers, and this suggests that companies should take 4 actions in order to build close relationships. So, if you look at the model in this way, it talks about identify, differentiate, interact, and customize. Now, first one is identify who your customers are and build up a deep understanding of them. So first, identify your customers. Who are our customers? Who are these individuals that are banking with us, working with us? And then decide their profitability and the potential, and then develop deep understanding about them, right? Then differentiate customers to identify which customers have more value now and which offer most for the future, right? So the value right now and the value that they may generate in the future, right? So we call this potential, right? Potential and the profitability, right? It's the value generated by them. So this is not only for today, but at the same time for the future as well. So you as an organization will work in understanding the present value and possible future value. For example, if you find a person who has just joined as a doctor, right, and he is in the preliminary grade, just started his job, right, and now that customer is using your card and he's getting a substantial salary. So he's profitable now. We know the profit is generating now, but at the same time we know the profits that he will generate in future is much more, right? Much more. So you identify who is he at present, what is the value he generates, and also you look at the potential and see, okay, over the years, for the next 10 years or next 20 years, how much value this customer may provide to us. Now, some credit card companies, when they find these engineers, doctors, when they pass out from the university, they go and offer huge amounts. They go and say, okay, 200,000 credit card, just passing out. 200,000 credit card. And sometimes a preliminary doctor or grade 2, grade 1 doctor, they offer thumping amounts, 650,000, 750,000, 1 million. They offer huge limits. Now, why is that? Because they not only look at the value today, but they look at the value for the future as well, right? So you have to differentiate your customers based on the value they create now and their potential to create more value in the future. That will help you to identify how you should focus. Then the next one is interact. Interact with customers to ensure you understand customer expectations and their relationships with other suppliers or brands. Okay. So constant interaction with the customer, ongoing relationship, continuous communication. And then with the continuous interactions and communication with the customer, you will understand their needs, right, and their value, right, and become proactive in reaping benefits. Once you interact and understand the clients, that will help you to customize offers and communication to ensure that the expectations of the customers are met. Right? So you interact with the customer, you understand their needs, right? And you understand their value, and based on that, you'll be able to give them more customized products, solutions, which will meet their needs. So IDIC model talk about that. It says identify, differentiate customers based on value, interact with the customers to understand them, and offer customized solution. Then you have the QCI model of CRM. So it talks about external environment and the customer experience. And it tells this is a two-way thing. The customer experience is affected or impacted by external environment, and the customer experience in return will affect the external environment as well. And then based on the insights, you will plan, analyze and plan, then the customer proposition, customer management activity, and then the measurements. And all these are possible with people and infrastructure. And customer management activity is also given here. So let's discuss. So model revolves around series of activities related to external environment, customer experience, people, organization and infrastructure, which helps to manage customers. Model shows that external environment directly affects the customer experience and planning and analysis process of the organization. Now, external environment is, now what they're talking is not the air and the water. What they're talking about is the business environment. So you talked about legal, political, economic, ecological, technological, social environment. Right? So this environment affects customer experience, and it will also change the customer requirements over a period of time. So our social requirements 10 years back is completely different today. Our technological savviness and technological influence in our lives and the desires 10 years back and now is completely different. So if we really look at our children, how they work with technology, what they value as good and bad, what they think as right and wrong, is completely different from what we thought and what we are now sometimes. Right. So these socio-cultural factors, technology, uh, even the political, economical areas, then the ecology, these are all changing. The legal environment, all have changed. Right? So based on the changes, the customer also will have different expectations, and his experience by interacting your organization will also become different. Right? And this external environment directly affects the planning and analysis process of the organization, because in planning, the first factor is to understand the external environment, understand the trends, technological trends, legal trends, political trends, social and cultural trends. So after identifying, you go to the planning analysis, so it affects that. Customer experience is affected by customer proposition, customer management activity, and measurement. Right? So remember, based on the customer experience, it will also influence the external environment. External environment changes will also influence the customer. So this model says that. So what is customer proposition? Value provided and price. What they value as value will become different with the changes of the external environment. And for example, as I told you in that Montessori example, now that Montessori, which didn't have a daycare, is not being valued by the customer after some time. Why? Because over a period of time, the social cultural trends have changed, and the mothers who used to be at home has become working women. Because they are working women and the mother and father both works, they find it difficult to manage the child. So that the earlier Montessori concept and the strategies you have now have to be changed, because the external environment has changed. People find it difficult to keep the children, take the children around 11 a.m. and the family has shrinked, so that you don't have large extended families to support. So that the strategic change has to be done to convert Montessori's into Montessori plus daycare. If you don't do that, you will not exist. So we have discussed that example. So value proposition, what is valued, does change with the environment. And customer management activities, process of capturing customers, which starts with targeting, conversion, selling, retaining, and winning back customers. These things also affects the customer experience, how the customer will experience the service with your organization. Then the measurements, how do you monitor, how do you maintain, and how do you follow up results. So this was talking about this area, right? The external environment and customer experience, and how the external environment will affect analysis and planning. Then customer experience affects the customer proposition, right? So next is that the customer management activity. So you have to acquire customers, you have to penetrate, and you have to retain. And the customer management goes to this wheel, which talks about several things, like how do you identify prospect, target, convert them into customers, conversion, understanding the customers, so you welcome and greet, get to know the customer, deliver the basics, right? And then you have to talk about retention, right? So retention activities, value development, right? How do you develop the value to the changing needs by understanding their needs, right? And then when you do this, you might go to dissatisfied scenarios, so you need service recovery, so managing dissatisfaction, winning back the customer, that is recovery. And then again you go to target another customer, uh, and the wheel goes on, right? So it takes customer management. Under customer management, they are talking about all these things. So acquisition, penetration, retention. That acquisition, getting more value, and then retaining the customers. So now at the end here, you find infrastructure, right, and people. Infrastructure deals with technology, customer information, process management that facilitates CRM implementation. People, organization, and infrastructure are all interconnected. It tells you to do all these things, do the customer management, develop customer proposition, and to support what is being planned to be implemented. And then with regard to the measurement, right, how to measure, you need people and organization and infrastructure. Right? So you need a good database, technology support, process management, information, and then based on that, you need a team to work, that is people, and then your organization, the organization structure, resources, those are required, and with these you can do the rest of it, right? So this is the basis. Without this you can't do any of these, right? So these things have interactions. So that is QCI model. Then there's another model called CRM value chain model. Now here you have two stages, primary stage and supporting conditions. Under primary stage, they are talking about customer portfolio analysis, customer intimacy, network development, value proposition development, and managing the relationship. Under supporting conditions, they say culture, leadership, processes, how we do things, human resource management, our people, how do we recruit good people, retain talent, right? And then IT, data management processes, how the technology will be used to support, right? So all these things will support, right? So these supporting factors are there, and then you have to do these things. Ultimately, you go for customer profitability. So customer management activities are divided into two stages, primary stage and secondary stage. Primary stage, focus on customer portfolio analysis. Now, what do you do under customer portfolio analysis? You do segmentation, you do lifetime analysis, right? And then you talk about, you differentiate customers based on present value and the potential. Then customer intimacy, knowledge about the customer and your customer knowledge base, right? So you have information so that you know about your customers' desires, requirements, needs, and you can anticipate their needs as well. So the knowledge base, customer database. Then network development, create network of suppliers, manufacturers, employees, investors, technology, distributors, retailers. These are all required for you to serve the customers. So unless you have a good network of suppliers, you will not get raw material to produce goods and satisfy your customers on time. Okay? Unless you have a good distribution channel with retailers who are ready to serve your customers with the products that you generate, you will not be able to satisfy your clients. So you have to develop these networks. Then developing a value proposition. Now, value proposition is how you plan the value that you offer to the client, and then how you price it, right? So that value proposition generates satisfaction. So if it is better than the competitor, the customer will be happy. If it meets this requirement, he'll be happy. Then the customer life cycle and building customer equity. So you look at the total customer lifetime value, and then I told you the combination of lifetime value of all the clients will ultimately talks about your customer equity. Now, that is by focusing on the customer and developing it, right? So you find here See, customer profit portfolio analysis, right? Segmentation and understanding the value of customers, then the customer intimacy, network development, value proposition development, and then managing the relationship. So in order to do all these things, you need to have the organizational culture and leadership aligned, and then you have to develop good processes, effective, efficient processes, customer driven, customer friendly processes. Then you need to, especially under service, and in order to convert your value or generate your value, you need human resources, right? So you need to recruit the right people with right talent, and also work on developing the existing people through training and development, and then retain the talent. That is also a difficult task. Then IT, data management processes, where you involve technology, and then reduce the cost and make your products or the offers more customized to the clients. So with these things, with focusing on customer, focusing on profitability, you can ultimately work with customer profitability. So this is the CRM value chain model. Then we also have another model, Payne and Fro's 5-step process model. They talk about the business strategy and a customer strategy, right? And it talks on the business strategy, talks about value customer receives, that is your value proposition. Then value organization receives, right? And then the customer segment lifetime value analysis, which is supported by integrated channels of communication, right? So you have Salesforce, outlets, direct marketing, call center, electronic mobile commerce, social media. Now, the customer strategy, value creation, the channels, they all need data repository where the data is being stored, gathered and stored. So, which is supported by IT systems, analysis tools, and front office applications. So it deals with 5 processes: strategy development, value creation, multi-channel integration, information management, and performance assessment. So this is a model which emphasizes collaboration between business strategy and customer strategy to create value. Business strategy is something that is created to vision. Now, vision is your end goal, the state that you want to achieve. Business strategy is developed to achieve vision under competition. So strategy is a doing things, way of doing things in such a way that you do it better than the competitor. Right? Then customer strategy is about customer choice and understanding the customer. So that is where you talk about understand the needs, anticipating the needs, right? And creating value. So you have a business strategy and a customer strategy. Then you have on the other side multi-channel integration to make things more accessible for the information. A data repository is what provides data for all these activities. So that is how this has been built. So you have the business strategy linked to vision, you have the customer strategy, and then this talks about achieving the visions, competition, what strategy you should work. Then this talks about customer, understanding his choice, anticipating his needs, segment analysis, things like that, right? And then you have to talk about value, segment lifetime value analysis, right? So value proposition, value assessment, acquisition economics, retention economics. Then you have multi-channel integration, Salesforce, outlets, direct marketing, call center, electronic mobile, social media, who interact in creating lifetime value and value to the customer. Now there are interactions between each other, right? So these channels will ultimately helps you to create values. Now, what value you should create depends on your business strategy and customer strategy, right? And it is understood that data repository or the database is required to give data to do all these things, and at the same time it gets back data and capture data when these things happen in the organization. So ultimately it will make sure that your customer is happy and retained. So what we discussed are some models that has been suggested by certain scholars to look at CRM. Right now, let's talk about some steps that you can take in developing a CRM project or developing in implementing a CRM program in your organization. So we can basically categorize this into 6 stages: develop CRM strategy, build a CRM project foundation, then specify needs and select partners, implement the project, and manage change, evaluate performance. Right? So let's take one by one. Phase one. Phase one talks about CRM strategy, developing a CRM strategy. So we can say CRM strategy is the high level plan of action that align people, processes, and technology to achieve customer related goals. So CRM strategy is more focused in achieving the customer related goals and amalgamating and synergizing the strengths of people, the processes, and the technology to meet those customer goals. So one thing that you need to do here is that you need to first do a situational analysis. Now, under situational analysis, you will analyze where your company is now in terms of customer strategy. So we can identify the segments we serve. This is where our knowledge about segmentation we did comes in handy. Right? So you try to understand, okay, who are our customers? What are the segments that we serve? Then you can decide market offering. Now, market offering is what we discussed as the marketing mix. Right? So you talk about, okay, you know about the segments. Now you talk about market offering, product, price, place, promotion, people, processes, and physical evidence. Then you talk about channels, right? So what are the channels that we connect with the clients and provide our services? So you ask the question, okay, what are the segments we serve? What is our present marketing mix? And then what are the channels we have used to connect? Right? So once you do the situational analysis, now you have to establish objectives and goals. Now these objectives and goals should focus on enhancing customer satisfaction and retention. So how can we enhance customer satisfaction? How can we retain our clients? What we should do? Then enhance customer loyalty. How can we enhance loyalty of our customers? That is the deep feeling towards the brand or attachment towards the brand. Then how do we grow revenue and reduce cost? How do we increase our revenue and what can we do to reduce the cost? So in order to do that, you need to identify people, process, and technology requirements. So the next step is that you try to identify required resources. And resources will not come to you free, they come with a cost. So you identify required resources and associated costs for required resources to achieve objectives. Then the very important question you need to ask is, why should we invest in CRM project? And then do a cost revenue analysis. Okay, we are going to incur a cost of this much. What is our expectation in terms of revenue growth? Right? So cost revenue analysis. So in this, then you will ask me, okay, CRM, can it increase revenue? So how can CRM increase revenue? Now you will go and tell the organization that we need to incur cost to do a CRM project. Then the very important question they'll ask you is, okay, how can you say that CRM will increase our revenue. Now, how can it increase? Convert in more suspect to prospects and then to customers. CRM is a proactive measure. So when you start doing CRM in your organization, it will identify prospective customers and it will make sure that you have the insights and the required value propositions to convert them into customers, right? And get them to start banking with you, doing business with you. So CRM is important because it will identify potential profitable customers and help you to first acquire them. Second, once you acquire, it will help you to cross-sell, deep sell, and upsell. Under cross-sell, sell another product that you have. On the deep sell, you sell more volumes than before to the customer. The next is that you sell a higher value product to the existing customer, upsell. Now, those are possible with CRM. Then more accurate pricing, because under CRM, you understand client and then you understand the requirement and you get feedback from the clients. So you're very close to client because you are interacting with the customer. So you understand the customer's requirement and the behavior patterns. Based on that, you can take very accurate pricing decision rather than taking pricing decisions inside a room without knowing the customer sentiments. Then the next one is that CRM programs will help you to generate more customer satisfaction and retention. So if the customers are satisfied, they give you repeat business, and if you retain them, you are talking about profits for a longer period and lifetime value. Okay? So CRM helps you to make your customers more satisfied with customized, friendly offerings, and at the same time to retain the customers. So if you are running CRM program and making customers continuously happy and satisfied, it will help you to popularize your brand through positive word of mouth. So positive word of mouth. So then the positive word of mouth and your CRM activities will help to get leads, that is more sales and repeat businesses. More sales and repeat businesses, including the leads for new clients. So this is how we can talk about the contribution of CRM on revenue. Now we said look at the revenue and look at the cost also. We can say CRM will reduce our cost also. Why? Now when you have CRM programs and make your customers very happy, satisfied, and build relationships, they will give you leads. They will introduce you potential customers and support you in getting new customers. So improved lead generation. Next, lower customer acquisition cost. So if you are having a good CRM program and customer experience is really good and you have positive word of mouth around, then you don't have to worry too much about customer acquisition. Customers will anyway come to your organization. Next, more efficient account management, because CRM will make you focus on profits. So you will be able to understand the value of each customer and the lifetime value, and based on that take decisions how to improve value and gain more profits. Less waste in marketing campaigns. Why is that? Because your marketing campaigns are given insights from the CRM activities that you do, so that your marketing campaigns are more focused on customers rather than general offers which may not appeal each customer. Next one is reduces customer service cost. Why is that? That is because your customers are now close to you and they have a relationship. As a result of that, they will do certain things by themselves rather than you trying to do it. And at the same time, they are familiar with your rules and regulations, so you don't have to spend so much of time in trying to convince and trying to explain to customers. So it is easy. And then when you have the same customer going on for a longer period, the amount of fixed cost that you have incurred to acquire the client can be settled off. Then efficient front office processes, that is a must. The front office is where the customers face most of the time, so that you need to keep a very pleasant person at the front office who will help you to help you on the processes and make sure that those processes are customer friendly. So CRM will help you to get insights, data, information required for you to do all these and get these cost benefits. So now in the first phase, you have analyzed the situation, you have looked at the benefits and the revenue and the cost related to CRM. So now you have a very clear idea where you are now and the importance of why you should do CRM. The second phase is build the CRM project foundation. Right? I know this is a little bit of a boring session because we're talking about technical stuff. At the same time, I'm also a little tired due to my sickness. So I suggest we take another 10 minutes off and start the session again. So now it's 10:46. I'll be back here by 10:55. Right? So 10:55 log in because this is a longer session. So we have to finish this today. So log in back again at 10:55. Sorry, I think we missed the recording. So I will just briefly go through the previous slides. So the next project we have been talking about building CRM project foundation. So after creating the strategy, you have to work on this. And under that, first is to identify the stakeholders. Stakeholders are the parties impacted by the change. So you have senior managers, users, so on and so forth. So you need to get them involved at the beginning of the project so that they will get to know the process and there will be less resistance during the implementation and the use of this particular CRM platforms at the end. So therefore, based on the research findings, you need to make sure that your CRM platforms are perceived as easy to use and perceived as useful, because in order to do that, you need to make sure that you convince your stakeholders about the importance and value of these CRM platforms and how they can use it to generate more value to the organization. Right. So in this section, we discussed early engagement of users, stakeholders certainly will help you to make the technology feel or perceived as easy to use and useful, so that you will not get resistance at the end. The second thing is establishing the governance structure. A governance structure should be put in place to ensure that project roles and responsibilities are properly defined and it should be allocated properly. So you will have a project director who will coordinate the entire project and who will get the overall responsibility on deliverables and the cost. So he's supposed to manage the cost, supposed to manage the timelines, and ensure the end product or the deliverables are delivered on time for the organization. Then it is important that you create a steering committee. Now, steering committee is a committee that will steer the project. Right? So this committee will take the responsibility to take policy decisions such as which technology to buy, who are the consultants we are going to hire, how to prepare the budget and what is the budget, how do we control the budget, budgetary controls and budget, then ensure the project is business focused rather than it is an IT dominant project which will not have the business sense. So yeah, this committee should have diversified experts who will give their insights to make sure that the CRM program is not dominated by IT, but it is an IT supported program that will deliver the business requirements. So the project should be business focused, and at the same time it should get the support of the technology. So as I told you at the beginning, CRM is a technology driven business strategy. So you have the both business people and IT people should work hand in hand for a successful CRM. So selecting the steering committee is critical for the success of the project. Then the program team should comprise representatives from all major stakeholder groups. We call these lead roles, right? So you take from the stakeholders, staff members, then management, then IT. So likewise, the stakeholders should be represented by some representatives. We call those lead roles in this program team. So this team will have the responsibility to implement the project successfully. These leads may create their own teams. So there's a lead. For example, let's say there's a staff member from the branch network. So then he might create his own team and become the leader of that team. So that the team as a group will give suggestions, concerns, and those will be gathered by this lead, and it will be represented at the project meeting, right? So selecting leads are very critical. You need to select people who are good leaders and at the same time good listeners, and also people who have the expertise and who will be able to gather information from the stakeholders. So the next point is that ensure right people are selected to get the feedback and support. In working with sales models, perhaps you might select the best salesperson or a popular sales manager with expertise to provide insights. It may be very pertinent for you to select people with experience, people with expertise, people with good leadership skills and communication skills when you're selecting leads, because their involvement will become very valuable in developing your project. Next is to identify change management needs. So CRM will change the culture of the organization, and the whole culture will be replaced with a more customer centric philosophy, right? So you need to manage this change, because when a new technology is being introduced, new platforms are introduced, and a new culture where the customer is at the center and customer is being focused in developing and delivering all the services are being introduced, it will make people feel disturbed with their normal routines. So sometimes they might say, okay, we have been doing the manual processes, we have been having a very comfortable time, now this has complicated our life. Sometimes, because sometimes you may be you have been staying very comfortably without cross selling, upselling, right? Without deep selling, you may have stayed very comfortably, but suddenly now you are getting a CRM platform which will not let you rest, but gives you drives you, saying, okay, giving you suggestions, give you this product to this person, why this is possible to these segments are potential for this particular product, right? And you need to do these things. Like now you are getting information, you are getting suggestions, you are being driven, your behavior is now getting uh, affected by the insights from the CRM program. Now your actions are more visible, and the feedback of the customers are not now getting captured. So you might feel disturbed. You might say, "අපි හොඳට හිටියා මේ system එකක් දාලා දැන් හරි කරදරේ." So then you might resist the system. So it's important that you manage the change effectively, allowing people to adapt the system and also to look at it as a very positive implementation or positive thing rather than looking at it as a hassle. So we will be talking about change management models which you can follow later. So next thing is identify project management needs. Clearly identify and document project management needs to ensure delivery and efficiency in implementing the project. So you have to, number one is that very clear with what you want. If you are not clear with what you want, what are your final objectives, what you finally want out of this project, it will be very difficult for you to manage it. So you have to understand where you are now, the present status, and what stage you want to go, and what are the things that you need to be established in the new scenario. So steps to move from the identified status, present status, during situation analysis towards the CRM vision, on time with budget. So with the CRM, you have a vision. Okay, once I do the CRM project, this is the organization I should see. So that has to be written, quantified, documented, and then see how you will achieve it on time with the budget given, right? This can be led by project director. Basically, the project director's responsibility is that he should know, okay, what is the status we want to achieve. He must know the measurements, criteria that will tell you, okay, you have achieved. So based on those, looking at the cost and the budget and the time frame, project director should manage the project, steer the project towards the vision. So he might do it by himself if he has the capability, or else the project director or the steering committee may decide to hire a consultancy firm who will provide more expert advice and who will support the change and implementation of CRM project. So project plan will set the task to be performed. So once you develop the project plan, it will tell you, okay, you have to go towards this vision. In order to go towards this vision, these are the tasks to be done. The order in which they should be done, time allocated to each task, resources required to each task, deliverables from each task. So what is the task you want to do? What is the timeline? Right? What are the resources required? And once you do the task, what is the outcome? How do you know that you have done the task? So project management needs. Then tools you can use for these can be given as Gantt charts, and then critical path analysis, program evaluation and review techniques. Now these are techniques which you can use. I think Gantt charts are very, very familiar to you, because even in your office when you do projects, you use these, right? So it tells you, okay, what task to be done, what is the timeline. So you will say, okay, first task you have to finish by April, second task by May, okay, third task by January. So what are the tasks interdependent? So if there is a task that should be done before something, okay, you say, okay, task 1 finish January, then task 2 start in February, because task 2 depends on task 1. If not, you can say task 1 January, task 2 also parallelly starts in January. Perhaps the task 1 ends in January and task 2 goes January and February, but they go parallel. So looking at all these things, you can prepare this Gantt charts, critical path analysis, program evaluation and review techniques. So you can use those in order to plan what we just discussed. Then you need to identify critical success factors. Now, critical success factors are the attributes and variables that can significantly impact business outcomes. These are must-haves for the project success. So that's why we call it critical success factors, right? So you have to agree on critical success factors at the beginning with all stakeholders. For example, well-developed knowledge management system, suitable IT infrastructure to manage information, top management support. Now, these are critical success factors. Now, without the top management support, you can't run this project. Because moment you try to run a change, organization-wide change, the people should know that you are being supported by the top management, and top management should give you resources and required support and the required confidence for you to run the project. If they are not convinced about the CRM project and if they are not willing to support you, then how can you make the project successful? So it is a critical success factor. So likewise with your steering committee and the stakeholders, you have to list down what are the critical success factors. So, and then you have to say, okay, without these, this project can't become successful. So these are the critical success factors. You have to identify those. Once you identify, you can manage. So it is another important thing for you to remember. Now, CRM projects are not easy to be implemented. It is difficult because it's, as I told you, it will impact the whole organization, and the results are not immediate. Results are long term. This is one of the things that most of the top management people and even the people who are more in finance mindset or more in a short-term mindset will not support, because they want short-term results. But remember, CRM is a long-term project. It talks about the total lifetime value of the customer, not simply the short-term successes. So therefore, CRM projects sometimes are not accepted by people, and they are a little worried why the success is not coming very fast. CRM, remember, is a long-term project. The success will come over a period of time, but when that comes, it is a very sustainable thing rather than short-term successes where you see that happens and disappears next day. Right? So CRM is a long-term initiative, and most of the time we have seen the CRM initiatives fail for several reasons, and it is very critical for you to understand 2/3 of those will not become really successful. What are the key reasons? Key reasons are lack of top management support. First one, this is the most important thing when it comes to CRM implementations, because the top management are the people who drives the sentiments of the organization, drives the cost, and drives the resource allocation. So if they are not supporting you, then this can't be run. So it's important that the top management is convinced the value of this project and how it will help the organization in the longer run, and how it will develop the brand, and the importance of it for the sustainability of the profits. And the top management should have the leadership thinking rather than the short-term thinking, whereas the leaders are generally looking at long-term visions, long-term successes, and sustainability of the organization. The leaders doesn't want to profit today and fail tomorrow. That is leadership thinking. So they should have the leadership thinking to implement this and then have a sustainable growth over a period of time. Second major reason identified is a poor project management. Now that is not having a proper plan, not knowing what to do, not knowing what are the critical success factors, not knowing what to be achieved and how to know that you have achieved it, measurements, right? Not clearly aligning with the time plans, budgets, resource allocations, and not having the right stakeholders, leads in the steering committee. Now, these are some reasons which has contributed as top few reasons for the CRM initiatives to fail. Third factor, the third topmost factor, is resistance of end users to adopt new technology. Because once the technology is being implemented and you have to work in this platform, it is important that the users are familiar with the technology and will be able to work with the technology. So when you are trying to work with technology, sometimes the shortcuts will not work and you are tracked. So when the shortcuts doesn't work and you are tracked, sometimes it may disturb the comfort zones of certain people. So they resist. Right? And at the same time, sometimes they resist because they don't know how to handle the technology because of their lack of IT literacy. So it is important that you understand this and get them engaged at the beginning, as I told you, and make them perceive the system is easy to use. And if you use the system, it will generate a lot of value and the usefulness of it. So we have discussed at the very early stages, in the previous slides, how these can be tackled. So the next is identify major risk factors and develop strategies to mitigate the risk. So you have to find out, okay, what are the risk factors that are there, and then what is our contingency plan. So if this doesn't work, what is our contingency plan? What is our plan B? Now, it is important that we know why CRM initiatives fail. So we can refer to the findings of Gartner, who has identified several reasons for CRM initiatives to fail. Now let's look at those. First one is management that has little customer understanding or involvement. Now the management of the organization doesn't understand the customer well, and they don't get involved with the project. So because they don't understand the value and the importance of the customer and what the requirement, and at the same time they don't get involved, that will actually lead the project to die off. So top management commitment and involvement is critical for the CRM success. Second, rewards and incentives tied to non-customer objectives and not in line with CRM project. Now remember, the incentives actually drives or shapes the behavior of employees. So these incentives should be tied to customer objectives as much as it is tied to non-customer objectives. Right? So you might talk to them about reduction of cost, improvement of profit. Right? So that's all fine, but then you should have some customer-driven KPIs as well. For example, the complaint ratio, the attrition ratio, satisfaction index. Now, these are very important. So you will say, okay, if the customers have generated and the complaints go beyond this ratio, then there's a problem. You should make sure that it will not happen. So some KPIs that will link to customer objectives to make sure that the employees will focus on customer. That will help CRM projects to become successful. Otherwise, they will not. Their behavior will not shape the way that you want it to be with the CRM initiatives. Then organizational cultures that are not customer focused. Now in CRM, you are trying to change the organization culture to a more customer centric culture, organization, and a culture where the customer is looked at as the most important person. So in that culture, everybody feels serving the customer is good, and then serving the customer is right, rather than any other thing. So when you are trying to create such culture, if there is a culture in the existence where the customers are not looked at as very important, and then it is not customer focused, you will get resistance. So under such cultures, when you try to implement CRM, you may not be able to implement it because you will get resistance from the people. Then the next one is limited or no input from the customers. So when you are running a CRM program, it is very important that you get input from the customers and then gather knowledge in order to do that effectively. So when there is no input or limited input from customers, you will find it difficult to make the CRM project a success. Then the next factor is over dependence on technology. Now that is where you think CRM is IT and it's IT only. So then what you do is you try to create superb system, but you forget business goals. So it's not the case. You have to always look at it as an IT driven business strategy. IT driven business strategy. So IT is an enabler, facilitator, supporter, but what it facilitates, what it enables, what it supports is the business strategy and the vision. Right? So the next one is lack of specifically designed mutually reinforcing processes. So you have not specifically designed the processes and it's not mutually reinforcing. So those things will have problems. Then poor quality customer data and information. So what you have is maybe the obsolete data. You may have not gathered data from the customers. You have lack of information. Those things will make it difficult. Then little coordination between departmental initiatives and projects. Now here the interdepartment coordination is having problems, and as a result of that there's no synergy that is being generated. Next factor is not creating the CRM team at the beginning. So now you have not worked on creating a steering committee, so you don't have leads from different that represent different stakeholders. As a result of that, now you are in not in trouble, and maybe you try to implement it at the last moment, but it may not become successful. Next one, not having representation from business in the CRM team. Now, when you do this, then the CRM will go into a totally different direction, which is not business focused. Then the other one is not defining measures for poor monitoring of benefits. So you have not clearly designed what are the outcomes, what are the benefits that I expect from the program. Now, as a result of that, you don't know how to measure it. So if you have not defined how to measure, and if you have not defined what you want, how to monitor, it's not possible. So therefore, at the beginning itself, it is important that you define the measures, how you are going to measure the success, what are the things that you require out of this project, and how do you assess that you have reached it or gone to that level. How do you measure? And then based on these measurements, you look at gaps, if any, and take corrective actions. Otherwise, you will not be able to run the project right. So with this, we finish the project phase 2. Now, this is an important area. I have seen past questions where they have asked you why CRM initiatives fail. So this is a question that has been asked in the past papers as well, and something that you should know, because if you want to make something successful, you must know the avenues or possibilities that you might go wrong, so that you will ensure that you will not do those. Right. So that's it. So next is phase 3. Right. So we are now at phase 3. Right? So phase 3 talks about the requirement to specify needs and select partners. Right. So first thing that you can do is that you can do a process mapping and a refinement. Now that is where you try to identify business processes that need to make more efficient and effective. Also the processes that can be automated. Processes should be relevant considering the impact from the of the on the customer experience. Now I told you that when you are trying to deliver services to the customer, the services are delivered through processes. So that is why we looked at it under marketing mix, and we said processes matters a lot when it comes to services, right? Because getting a service is a result of a process. Now process of series of activities which are interlinked, right, and is done to achieve an result, right? So you do activity 1, 2, 3, 4. Now activity 2 depends on 1, 3 depends on 2. So likewise each activity is dependent on each other. So but after doing 1, 2, 3, you achieve the end result, that is the service, right? So now you have to see these processes in the organization and ask critical questions whether these processes are required, whether these processes are customer friendly, whether these processes are delivering the results we want, and whether these processes can be made more shorter and simple so that the time can be saved, right? So where you have to critically analyze the processes and see how you can make it more customer friendly whilst ensuring the safety of your organization. At the same time, another critical question under this process mapping is to ask yourself whether these processes have to be handled the way we have been handling now, right? Or whether we can automate the process. Now you know that there are cash recycle machines. Now when the customer deposit the cash, it will go into the cassettes based on the denominations, and those cash will be reused by the ATM. Now that is a totally automated process of managing cash rather than having the manual involvement. Now the banks have cash deposit machines rather than using teller to get deposits. So that has automated certain tasks which you have been doing manually for a longer time. So your objective is to see whether you have to really do these tasks manually, right? Whereas you have the IT support which can be taken to automate the process. Next is to find out about data. So you have to review the data and see whether there are any gaps and analyze those gaps. So after identifying process reviews, the data requirement for the CRM implementation and identify gaps. So what do you do here? You see what are the data required by different levels for different levels, and whether those data is available now or whether you need to work on a particular system methodology to gather what you need. Now, what are the different types? Now if you look at strategic CRM, it will need data to identify which customer to be targeted for acquisition, retention, and development, and what should be offered to them. Basically, your value proposition. Right? So, strategic CRM will require data to identify the profitability potential of clients and then decide which segments to be targeted, uh, who are the clients to be retained, who are the clients to be removed, and then who are the clients that they should develop in order to make them profit or make them profit more, right? And how it is to be done. Now the data required for these strategic CRM decisions, whether it is available or whether you need to get it with this CRM system, you have to ask. There's a gap. Then operational CRM may need customer related data in the everyday operation of the business. For example, customer inquiries, feedback, transaction data, right? For you to analyze the operational requirements and how to make it more efficient in serving clients. Now, do you have it now, or you need to get it with the new system? Either there's a gap or no gap. Then analytical CRM will need customer related data to identify customer profitability, tendencies, trends, uh, then the tendency to lose client, churn rate. Churn rate is how many customers will go away from your organization. Churn rate, then the usage frequency, usage intervals, right? How frequently they use it, what is the gap, right? So those are required for analytical CRM in order to analyze and identify trends, identify gaps, and identify the strategies, or identify the areas that the business should focus in order to improve the profitability. Then collaborative CRM. The collaborative CRM may need data to support channel partners to make communication more effective. So these different types of CRM activities will require different types of data, which you need to understand as what the requirement is. Then look at whether you have it right now or whether there's a gap. So companies should determine what customer data they will need for strategic, operation, analytical, and collaborative CRM needs. At this stage, companies should identify information requirements and list down already available data. So you have information required and already available data. But remember, at this stage, you have to be careful. There are some need to know data. That means that you need those data, and without those, you can't do the thing. So need to know. And there are also like to know data. That means if you have those, you might be able to improve your decisions or do something more or make it more accurate, right? But if you don't have this, that doesn't mean you can't do the job. You can still do it, but if you have these, you can do or a better job, or you can do some more value additions, things like that. So need to know is a must. Like to know is a choice, right? So you have to look at both the cost and the requirement. So you have to look at the gap, what is available and what you want. And if there's a gap between available data and requirements, then you have to think of associated costs the company should incur and the data requirement. Then you have to, based on the cost and the requirement, you have to develop the requirements. So you have to select, okay, we need these, or we may not, we don't need this. We need this because this will generate value. We don't need this because not having it is not a problem. We can work with existing data. So you have to do this critical analysis. Sometimes you might say, okay, to get this information, we have to spend a large amount of money, but getting this information, the amount of return we can get is very low. So when you look at the cost and the benefit that you will get out of those information, maybe the cost benefit is not very significant. So then you might say, okay, there's no point spending this much of cost to get this data, because by getting this, what we can do is very limited. So you might abandon. But if it is really required, it is a need to know thing, then you may even have to spend a lot of money in getting that, because by getting those data, you may be able to save a lot of money or earn more profits. Right. Once you do this whole exercise of understanding where you are, now you are in a position to do initial technology need specifications and research alternative solutions. Out of several CRM applications available, it is important that you determine which application is suitable for you to deliver the CRM vision and will meet your business needs. Now you have to know that there are several applications in the market which are ready to use. Right? These have been provided by well-known software companies, so they market their products. So they will say, okay, we have CRM applications. So you can analyze these CRM applications by visiting the websites of vendors. They have their own programs, the videos on these CRM applications. So you can look at all these things, but you have to always compare the deliverables of those applications against the requirement. So you already have a CRM vision, and up to now in the previous slides, we have seen how we gather what we want. Right? So now you have requirements, you have project goals, project objectives, and you have a CRM vision. So you ask the question, out of these applications, which can really help me to achieve my CRM vision with the budget given? So based on your requirements, you can decide either to buy one of the ready-made CRM applications or to build one of your own by yourself. So basically you have two options. One is you can go for open source software. Right? Now this is a software you can buy and then do changes. There's no license, or there's no requirement to pay to improve the software purchase. You will get access to codes, but licensed software is different. When you get a licensed software, you can't make changes the way you want or customize. You need to pay for all the customizations and development that you do on that licensed software. CRM software can be stored in company's own server. So you can have your own server, we call it on-premise, or it can be accessed from another party's server via internet. So you can say hosted solution. So if you are not having the capability to have your own servers which can support the CRM software to be hosted and the program, then you may hire or you may get the services of a hosted solution where your software and the databases are hosted at a different third-party place or an outsourced place. Right? Hosted option is also getting popular when CRM is adopted by medium and small scale enterprises, because they may not be having their capability to have their own solution. But when it comes to banking sector, it is more popular to have CRM software inside the company itself due to the very sensitive nature of the business, right? So in terms of banking sector, we can say the banking sector prefers more on-premise solution. So once you do all these things, next is to write a request for proposal. Now, request for proposal is a document that will summarize the requirement of your CRM program and will invite vendors to respond in a structured manner. So you actually prepare this requirement request for proposal, and you send it out to the vendors who can support you, who can provide a product. And this RFP tells the vendor what this organization requires. And then based on the requirement, they will respond to you. Right? So this is the document that will serve as the standard for the vendors to evaluate requirement and provide their proposals. Right? Provide their proposals. And basically, what it says is this request for proposal is a structured one, and it tells the requirement rather than you telling, give me something that you have. Now, when you say, give me something that you have, they don't know what I really want. So there can be people who are responding to you with their own way, softwares, which may not suit your requirement. So request for proposal will ensure that the vendors know what you require, and they are more focused and they are more aligned to respond in a way that will meet your requirement. So if the vendor finds that he cannot meet your requirement, he will not respond, so that it's easy for you to select. Otherwise you will get every fellow responding to you, and most of the proposals may not meet your requirement. And the vendor is also confused if you don't give a RFP what you really want. So RFP is a clearly specified requirements, and it's a document that will serve as a reference to the supplier or the vendors to understand what kind of a CRM solution that your organization is searching. So based on that, they can respond. So after you receive proposals from these companies, vendors about CRM software and the solutions they can offer, you can evaluate those proposals and select a vendor. Now, when you are selecting the partner, you have to be very careful about the ability of the partner to support CRM project requirements and the cost. So you have to see whether they have the capability, expertise to do what they have promised to do. At the same time, when you get them as partners, whether they will stay with you and support you, right? And then the next factor is whether the cost that they have asked or the fees that they have asked is reasonable and within your budget. So you have to look at the capability of the vendor, continuity of the vendor, and the cost. So looking at all these aspects and looking at how well they can help you to reach your CRM vision within the budget, you can select the partner. Right. Now we have come to the level of selecting a partner. Then you go to the phase 4, right? That is the implementation of the project. So once the partner is set and you decide what to do, then you can develop the CRM technology or the platforms. So you have to test, modify, refine the CRM technology to be used and customize same based on your requirements. At this stage, company can install newly developed technology solutions and drive the staff to adapt to the change. So you have to be very careful in this stage in driving the change and make sure that the staff will look at it as easy to adapt and it gives benefits. So if those two are convinced, they will accept the change. Company should identify leaders who will lead the CRM implementation and encourage staff to adopt CRM initiatives by linking rewards to KPIs developed to support same. So here what you do is that you find some people who are opinion leaders, people who have leadership qualities. So you identify them and you convince them first, right? And you get their support. And sometimes these leaders should be people who have the ability to go by themselves and that have the courage, persistence, expertise. So they may not need others to support them sometimes. So you will get them convinced about your product and you tell them, okay, you try to drive this, so that they will create the opinion, they will go forward, they will steer the change, right? So identify leaders who will lead the CRM implementation. Then you, on the other side, encourage staff to adopt CRM initiatives, use CRM platforms by linking rewards to KPIs. So you might say, okay, you have to look at the CRM, you have to log into CRM, identify cross-sell opportunities suggested, and do and improve the cross-sell ratio of your branch by 5%. And if you increase the cross-sell ratio by 5%, you will get rewarded. That is one of your key performance indicators. So you link the KPIs, key performance indicators, which will ultimately generate the rewarding of the rewards and promotions for the people, so that the people are driven to achieve those, which in turn will help the success of the CRM program. So this is the implementation. In the implementation part, change management is critical, and this is a place you must know about the change management concept, right? Now today I'm not going to take up change management concept, right? So we will close the session now. We will meet up with the change management concept and measure in CRM session next week. Up to now, there has been 2 presentations, I think 3 uploaded today. So you check on that about the service recovery, and then there was two presentations. So you check on that. If, they confirmed it is uploaded now. So if there is no, if those are not been uploaded, you may contact me. I will share my email on the chat. So if you have, if you need any further support, you can reach me with this email, right? Um, but I'm trying to see how to get this at sign, not getting generated from this keyboard. Anyway, it's bharatiya.h at, right? So I say at, right? At, right, okay. So you get my email on the chat. So you can write to me if you have problem with any other notes. Okay, so we'll call it a day. We'll meet up next time with the final phase.